Hello, dear listeners. It's ToastTalks with Coach Uzi again. Today I have the amazing, the lovely, the one who talks of symphonies when she's putting her speeches together, the amazing Toastmaster Gaolathe Gwindi. Hello, Toastmaster Gwindi. How are you, Toastmaster G?
Toastmaster Wusi, I'm all the better for seeing you. You are full of energy, and it sounds like you're on a perpetual 100 years celebration of
I
Toastmasters.
am. I am and loving every single bit of it.
Awesome.
Toastmaster, how long have you been a Toastmaster?
I've been a Toastmaster since 2021. And when I say it, I'm almost embarrassed because it's a really, really short time. And yet I have gained so much.
Isn't that fun? So you and I started together.
Yes.
What is our club? One of the things we do here, we do a shout out for the club of the member I will be interviewing. So you get to do a shout out. What's your club, Toastmaster? How?
Global Women Extraordinaire.
Woo! I tell you the most amazing and fun club. Tell me one thing that gives you joy about being a member of this particular club.
What's amazing about it is they are already a team or a family of extraordinary women. However, they're not content to remain at the same level. So everyone who is in the club is there because they know that there's an extra in Toastmasters to add to their extraordinaire. So I'm surrounded by learners that stimulate me to learn. And I'm also surrounded by listeners who aren't intimidated by my dream.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I will forever say my favorite speech so far in the whole of Toastmasters, my whole Toastmasters journey. I mean, I love Genie by the gentleman who won 2022, I think.
Right, right.
And I love Verity Price's speeches, but there is one speech you gave, and I was listening. I was energized. I was excited when you were talking about things coming together like a symphony. I was like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely top-notch speech writing. And you challenge me so much in how you put your speeches together. Tell me, what is your trick?
You know, Toastmasters has this method of operating that so encourages me, strengthens me, and sharpens me. They speak about the very basic principle of the introduction, the core, and then the conclusion. And when you have that basic understanding, it's easy to lace your speech with key elements of interest. And music is one of my interests. So what Toastmasters allows us to do, or has allowed me to do, is to be creative around what I communicate to the listener and to appeal to a broad spectrum of information. So I never feel limited because it's a safe learning environment. And I remember being told by one of the ladies who has been in Toastmasters much longer than we have, that, you know what, this is the place to try everything because you're going to get some good feedback. So I remember that speech, and I love the fact that you loved it. It means all the tips that I got in my content worked.
They absolutely worked. They absolutely did. Now, dear listeners, did you hear how she said, lace things together? Those are the joys of being a Toastmaster. The way you get to speak, it is just so interesting. I could listen to you forever, really, because you are that interesting. And as I keep saying that on Toast Talks with Coach Pussy, these are unscripted conversations that we are having, and yet they flow because this is what we do. We've learned the skills. Give me one story that you'd like to share on Toastmasters, whether it's a speech you heard, whether it's an experience you went through, an encouragement, anything Toastmasters related. I'm going to give you some time to tell us a story.
Many, many stories. I'll
Mhm.
share this one. One of our charter members in our club, Global Women Extraordinaire, she was a grammarian one day. And the grammarian is basically the person who comes up with a word that we all use in the meeting, or we try and use as much as possible. And the aim of using different words in different meetings is to really grow our vocabulary, because words are the tools we use to communicate effectively.
True.
So she allowed us on that day to explore the word camaraderie. Camaraderie. And I will
Camaraderie.
never forget it, because it gave me the sense that I am home. It's not like I didn't know it, but it reaffirmed what I already knew. And every time I visit a club, because it's not that my subscription is for my club only, I get to go to so many
True.
different clubs whenever I want to visit. Whenever I visit a club, when I feel that sense of camaraderie, I know that Toastmasters is home in any nation. And I must say, I've never gone to a club where I felt out of place. And I have visited clubs. You and I did the whole let's tour the nations. Let's go.
Let's talk.
We even went to clubs that had all men, and we were like, we're in there. We want to hear what speeches they make.
I remember those clubs.
And no one
Oh
ever
my.
said, like, what are you doing here? You could be a Zimbabwean visiting a South African club, and no one says, why are you here? So that sense of camaraderie is something that I carry in my heart, but it's something that I experience everywhere. And if I were to encourage anyone out there to join
Hmm.
Toastmasters, it would be to say, you know what? You have a home away from home, and you have a virtual option, and you have an in-person option, and we're not putting any stops to it. But the world is definitely our stage.
Wow. And you have the hybrids, the ones who meet both in person
Absolutely.
and online. I
Absolutely.
love this field. Do you still do what we used to do where if you find yourself in a space of time where you don't know what to do, you've just found someone has cancelled on an appointment and you suddenly think, is there a meeting happening somewhere where I can hope on?
Yeah,
You
yes,
know,
I do.
you
And
do,
and the
right?
funny yeah, the funny thing is, when you don't, well, for me, when I don't, I feel it. Like, so when I'm in and out of the meetings, I sense the growth, I sense the expansion. I know that I'm functioning out of my limits, because my one of my mentors told me, challenge yourself to be in environments that you're not ordinarily in. So
Say that
by
again. Say
attending
that again. Say it again.
encourage yourself to be in environments that you're not ordinarily in. So you're challenging yourself out of what you think is safety. So, for example, if I visit a club in America that meets at a different time from me, I'm putting myself in the hands of club members who I don't know, who don't have the same culture as me, who may not have the same way of operating or the same speech writing style as me. But when I do that, that's when my expansion takes place. I am all about growing, and
Awesome.
that's why I love Toastmasters. Yeah.
I know. And it really is exciting that you talk about putting yourself into different spaces, different clubs where you don't know. Have you ever noticed how the evaluations are different and
Right.
yet similar? I'll tell you one that I had given back to back speeches, and I had been told that There was a growth point, I was told. And I thought, that is subjective. They don't really know that I am doing the right thing. I went to a totally different group of people. It was in Jamaica. I went that side of the world, that far. And you know what they said? Picked up on the exact same growth. And at that point, I was like, I give up. I'm going to learn. I'm going to fix it. I did not give a speech for, I think, that whole month. I was working on that growth point. I was fine tuning it. I was going back to the evaluation form and seeing how it had been articulated, how it had been written. One of the things I do is I also record a lot of the feedback that I'm given, because when people write, they sometimes would have forgotten exactly what they would have told me on the
Right.
platform. So I typically will record. And when I went back and I kept listening over and over, the next speech I gave, that which I was working on, was the one that they said, wow, you absolutely nailed that aspect. I was like, huh, so I was doing it wrong. I needed to elevate my speaking game and that's all because of feedback. I, you know what, how it's something that I would have thought it's not an issue for me,
Wow.
you
Wow.
know? But when we give
That's
these
phenomenal.
speeches, they're not for me. It's for the people who are listening, right? So if
Right.
they're not receiving everything that I'm giving because of tiny little things like maybe, continuously, subconsciously cleaning my ear or picking at my nose or punctuating every line with the effect is gone. It's marred.
Right. Right.
Anyhow, so I love that you brought in this aspect of visiting other clubs and challenging yourself. I had to confess, I had to challenge myself, and I had to repent too. I follow this good book that says when you've done wrong, go ahead and repent. I actually went to my evaluators and I said, I thought you were just looking for something to mark me down on. I mean, I've been a Toastmaster long enough for me to have known that's not the heart in which we serve, but I did. So I went back and I repented and I told them, and they evaluated me again, and we are doing much better. Toastmaster how?
That sounds like wisdom.
As it does, right? Now, in your personal life,
Mm.
where have you found the benefits of Toastmasters to be working in your life? Professional wise, career wise, at home, where do you find the skills that you harness from Toastmasters? Where do you find them working? Give us a little bit about how it's working for you in different spheres of your life.
In all honesty, everywhere. I'll start with professionally. I present a lot. I find myself training every so often. I also lecture at a Bible school. My level of comfort when I'm communicating with people has come from the 10,000 hours of being in and out of meetings, presenting speeches, and getting feedback. And people often say, you're such a natural. No, I'm not a natural. I've been working on it. It actually does take work to have the kind of results that you want to achieve. And
Mm.
that continual learning process is so beneficial at Toastmasters. Then the next place where I've found it very effective is with my children, my family. In fact, not just my children, my husband included. We have learned how to give each other feedback in a way that builds and does not destroy. So we use the sandwich method as we've been taught in Toastmasters. We affirm, then we give the growth point, and then we challenge each other to do better. And then we close off by saying, but wow, that was awesome. That was worth scripting. That was worth videoing. So it's really helping the family dynamic quite a lot.
Mm.
And then I also find myself just as a minister of the gospel, the different places where I go, I find myself being creative about how what I say lands in people's ears, in their minds, and in their hearts. And so if you communicate and it's not received in the genuine way it was delivered, it means there's a breach. And so Toastmasters has been helping me to bridge that gap and to make the landing of my communication better than it's ever been.
Right.
Yeah, so I would say everywhere. And then there's one thing I want to share, if you don't mind, because I don't know how much time you have on this call.
Absolutely.
I want to share something that I learned from you that I really, really took to heart. I remember there was a season, I can't remember the ins and outs of the conversation, but it was about impromptu speaking. And you said to me or to us, you said, believe it or not, I prepare for my impromptus. I make sure, and I might be paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of you make sure you have a running list of your quotations so that when you have the opportunity to speak, you will fish out the exact one. And then and I thought, you know what?
That is so true.
That is a priceless way of operating. In all honesty, the book that you were speaking about early says that we should be instant, in season, and out of season.
And
I found that you affirmed that or confirmed that to me to say, you know what, you can't get to a moment of opportunity and make an excuse that you're not ready. So thank you for being that Toastmaster that deposited that principle in me. I really appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you for reminding me about that. I've got a few people I'm mentoring, and I don't think I've shared that with them. So I need to go back and tell them that. Those impromptu speaking opportunities, they really can hit you when you are not as prepared for that particular one, but there's a level of preparing that you can always have. So you're quite correct. The man that you and I followed at the same time, Pastor Tom DeShaw, also says, when you see an opportunity and you see a person who you've been wanting to meet, don't kind of meet them and go, and when they say to you, hello, and you say, hello, how are you? So how have you been? Isn't it a lovely day today? It's been raining on my side of the world. What's been happening in yours?
Right.
Strike. Immediately have questions. If you revere someone, you want to know something from them. So I had that same opportunity, and I'm just saying that to confirm exactly what you said about being ready. When we went to 95% market share, and I had opportunities to walk along Pastor Tom, I was prepared. Any minute, I had something that, so Pastor Tom, this is the scenario. What would you recommend? And the things that you would pull out from a person like that, and this goes for anyone and everyone. You see your teacher, for the younger ones, you see your teacher in a shop, and you have a one-on-one, immediately go and say, you know, that algorithm that you've been teaching me, that's some that you've been telling me, I'm not getting it. This is the perfect time to throw it out there because you are prepared for all those kind of moments. Absolutely awesome. Awesome. I love it. If you had to speak to someone who's sitting on the fence about Toastmasters, what would you say to them?
I would say that when you become a Toastmaster, because I think over the years, people may have misinterpreted what Toastmasters is about. It may appear to be something for maybe someone who wants to MC, or someone who's talkative, or someone who just wants a title attached to their name. But Toastmasters really is a very holistic and dynamic educational program. One of the things that triggered my excitement from here to Timbuktu was the amount of resources available on the website.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I remember when we were in that season of lockdown, and I was trying to figure out a way of engaging with the nations that I interact with in my job. But I didn't want it to be just an ordinary Zoom call where you say, how are you, and etc., etc. I found a tool and some content on how to effectively run a panel discussion. And I followed each line. This was a line by line. And I had a most successful panel discussion where we had guests. We were able to mine all the wisdom from them with those effective questions. It was incredible. And so I found that the tools span from what can benefit me as an individual, what can benefit my organization, what I can do differently. Maybe I haven't thought about a certain dynamic in my workspace, and I'm able to introduce that dynamic to spice things up a bit. So the resource base is off the charts, but you can only access the resources when you are a Toastmaster. But it is worth it. It is worth it. And so I would encourage anyone who's sitting on the fence, come on in. Why don't you feel the temperature of the water? You might find yourself swimming for more hours than you expected to.
At any time of the day, because somewhere in the world, there is always a Toastmasters Club meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. You're so right about the resources. You know, one of the tips that I learned when we get feedback is how when you stand, you're more energized and your diaphragm is up and you've got more energy and your words come out right. So when I do even these recordings, more often than not, I am standing because I want to make sure that I am aware, I am present, and I'm giving off the best energy levels that I have, and you get to catch all that I have learned, as much of what I've learned as possible.
It's working.
So you're so right on the resources, because anytime you go there, somebody has put a tip about something, and
absolutely,
the wealth of information is amazing. And as long as you are faithful to work your projects one after the other, whatever you are paying, you cannot miss. You cannot miss out on really affording. You can't miss on getting the benefits from
absolutely
what you would have been learning. So
it's definitely an investment worth making.
Now, Pastor How, I've been laughing with a lot of my other guests here about pastors on the pulpit who don't know how to keep time. So I am going to tap into that side of you. Our book of wisdom tells us that iron sharpens iron. Do you agree that Toastmasters falls into that iron sharpens iron aspect of things?
Absolutely. It does. But I must say that the sharpening happens with the right tools and with the right methods. Because you could have a sharpening that's detrimental to either tool. But with Toastmasters, it really does work in the sense that even the way you sharpen is guided by a script. And if you read your content, you are able to just give it. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I joined, because every time I joined a meeting before I became a Toastmaster, I would see people doing all these roles. I'm the grammarian, I'm the art counter, I'm the Toastmaster of the day, I am an evaluator. And I would think, where are they getting all these things and how are they doing this? And why does it seem
I
so
know, right?
flawless? And so when I jumped in, I knew the secret now to say, no, they script, and the 100 years ago was Mr. Smedley
Yes.
desiring to deposit in some young people the substance that would make them effective in their businesses. And the heart of Toastmasters has not changed. And
It has
so
not changed.
the sharpening continues 100 years later. I believe it gets better and better with the technology. And I still can't believe I'm on my second pathway, and I have more pathways to do and more areas to sharpen, and the
Mm-hmm.
resources are there. So it's
And they
absolutely
have.
mind blowing.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. Now, there are also roles that we take, but we're not going to go into that today because those roles, I know you were area director, well, you were VPE, then you were president, then you were AD, then have you gone further than AD?
I have not gone further than 80,
Not yet,
but I
not
will.
yet. Yes, it's
I
a
will
matter of
definitely.
time. And it's not just the titles, it's what you gain. I know you can confirm when you
Yeah.
were VPE, you had different skills that you learned as VPE. When you were president, you are now the CEO of the club. There were things that you learned at that level. When you are now area director, you were responsible for clubs, not just one. So you keep expanding and growing. The excitement, I cannot, I cannot overemphasize the excitement in knowing how to grow. You know, when a young child is learning how to walk,
Mhm,
when
mhm.
they get up and they walk, before you know it, everywhere in the house, they no longer walk. They are literally running from sunrise until they put their heads down. This is how I feel when I come to things all about Toastmasters. I just want to keep running because the excitement is that real.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For
Speaking of
being with
those
me
roles,
today.
oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just
No,
saying,
no, go
speaking of
ahead.
those roles, I love the way you say each role unlocks a different capacity or ability in you, number one. And then number two, we speak about transferable skills in Toastmasters. And that basically means where you are on Toastmasters and what you learn is effective, not just for Toastmasters, it is effective for whatever you are out there in the real world, the marketplace, as a
Mm-hmm,
CEO, as a
mm-hmm.
secretary. The tools that we get are transferable, the skills are transferable. So that is also something that's quite exciting, and that allows you to grow beyond the scope of the club or the Toastmasters community, but it's effective out there.
Pastor Howard, Toastmaster Howard, thank you so much for setting aside the time. I also keep telling dear listeners that Toastmasters gives you a network of people, of friends who become like family. When
Mhm.
I asked you, it was a matter of let's find a time, a window that works for you and me, and let's do this. We don't get paid. This is not an affiliate program. I don't get money for any Toastmaster who signs on, neither do you. But we have a firm belief that this world will be so much better when doctors are speaking and communicating with empathy, teachers are listening to our children with empathy, headmasters are listening to the teachers and communicating. I
Mhm.
could go on and on. Nurses, restaurant people, anyone and everyone can benefit from having some time with Toastmasters. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Howard. I appreciate you. I absolutely am so glad that we managed to nail this down, bolt it, and now this episode of Toast Talks with Coach Musi being graced by the presence of the lovely, the amazing, the symphony singing, directing Toastmaster How has finally happened. Dear listeners, until next time, I am signing out. Over and out.